Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Easy English Podcast. I'm Hana, and as always, I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Alex.
Hi, Hana, and a huge welcome to all of our listeners joining us from around the world today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Alex. Thank you. I'm really excited about today's topic because it is something extremely useful, but also a little bit scary for a lot of English learners.
Oh, what are we talking about today? Is it something mysterious?
Not mysterious, but definitely important. Today, we are talking about English for the pharmacy, specifically how to describe your symptoms to a pharmacist and how to understand those confusing medicine labels.
Wow, that is a fantastic topic. You know, even for native speakers, reading medicine labels can sometimes feel like reading a different language, but doing it in a foreign country when you don't feel well, that is next level stressful.
Exactly. When you're sick, your brain is already tired. You might have a headache, a fever, or a stomach ache, and the last thing you want to do is struggle to find the right words in English.
I actually have a personal story about this, Hana. A few years ago, I was traveling in a country where I didn't speak the language very well. I woke up with this terrible itchy rash on my arm.
Oh no, an itchy rash? That sounds awful. What did you do?
Well, I went into the local pharmacy and my mind just went completely blank. I forgot all the basic words. I couldn't remember the word for itchy or cream. So I just stood there scratching my arm like crazy, pointing at it and making sad faces at the pharmacist.
Oh, Alex, I can just picture you doing that. Did the pharmacist understand you?
Luckily, yes. She smiled, nodded, and gave me some cream. But it made me realize how important it is to know just a few key phrases. If I had known the right words, I wouldn't have felt so embarrassed.
That is so true. Body language can help, but words give us power and confidence, especially when it comes to our health. I had a similar experience when I first moved abroad. I had a really bad cough.
A cough? Like a dry cough or a chesty cough?
See, that's the thing. I didn't know the difference back then. I just went in and said, I need medicine for cough. The pharmacist started asking me all these questions. Is it a dry cough? Do you have phlegm? I just stared at him. I had no idea what phlegm meant.
Phlegm is a tough word. Let's spell that for our listeners. It's Phelgm, but we pronounce it like phlegm. It's that thick liquid in your throat when you're sick. Definitely not a fun word, but very important at the pharmacy.
Yes. And because I didn't know it, I was worried I would buy the wrong medicine. In the end, I just pointed to my throat and made coughing sounds. It was so awkward. That's why we want to help our listeners avoid these situations today.
Perfect. So today, we're going to break this down into easy steps. First, we will learn how to describe common symptoms like pain, allergies, and cold symptoms. Then, we will look at key words you see on medicine bottles like dosage, side effects, and expiration date.
That sounds like a great plan. Let's start with describing symptoms. This is the first thing you need to do when you walk up to the counter and the pharmacist asks, "How can I help you today?"
Right. Usually, the simplest way to start is by saying, I have a, followed by your symptom. For example, I have a cold, I have a sore throat, or I have a headache.
Exactly. Those are super common and easy to use. But what if you have a pain in a specific part of your body? Like, what if your stomach hurts or your back is sore? You can say, I have a sharp pain in my stomach, or I have a dull ache in my back.
Oh, those are two excellent words to describe pain, sharp and dull. Let's explain those. A sharp pain is sudden, strong, and feels like a needle, right? It hurts a lot in one specific moment.
Yes, exactly. And a dull ache is the opposite. It is not extremely sharp, but it is a constant, continuous, low-level pain that just won't go away. For example, after sitting at my desk all day, I have a dull ache in my neck.
That is a perfect example. I get that dull ache in my shoulders all the time. Now, another thing you might need to describe is the level of pain. Pharmacists or doctors might ask, how bad is the pain on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yes, 10 is the absolute worst pain, and 1 is very mild. You can use words like mild, moderate, or severe to describe it. For instance, I have a mild headache means it is just a little annoying, but I have a severe migraine means it is incredibly painful, and you probably need strong medicine.
Severe is a great word. S-E-V-E-R-E. It means very serious or very bad. If you have a severe allergy, for example, you need to tell the pharmacist immediately.
Speaking of allergies, that's another huge reason people go to the pharmacy, especially during spring or autumn. What are some of the symptoms we should know for allergies, Alex?
Well, the most common ones are itchy eyes, a runny nose, and sneezing. Let's look at runny nose. That is when liquid is constantly coming out of your nose because you are sick or have allergies. You can say, my nose is running, or I have a runny nose.
And itchy is such an important word. It means you feel like you want to scratch your skin or your eyes. My eyes are so itchy and red today. We spell itchy as I-T-C-H-Y.
And then there is stuffy nose or congestion. This is when your nose feels blocked and it is hard to breathe through it. You can tell the pharmacist, I have a lot of nasal congestion, or simply, my nose is stuffed up.
I hate that feeling so much. It makes it so hard to sleep. If you have congestion, you might need a decongestant. That's a type of medicine that helps clear your nose. It is a bit of a long word, but it comes from congestion.
It does, and it's very helpful to know because you will see it written on many boxes over the counter. Over the counter, or OTC, by the way, just means medicine you can buy directly from the shelves without a doctor's note or prescription.
That is a key distinction. Let's make sure our listeners understand that. A prescription is the official paper your doctor writes for you to get stronger medicine. But over-the-counter medicines are things like aspirin, cough drops, or allergy pills that anyone can buy.
Right. And even when you are buying over-the-counter medicine, you should always ask the pharmacist for advice if you are not sure. You can say, what do you recommend for a dry cough? Or which of these is best for a child?
Or a sinus headache. Using the word recommend is very polite and natural. What do you recommend? It's a great phrase to practice.
Absolutely. It shows you trust their professional opinion. Now, once the pharmacist gives you the medicine, or once you choose one from the shelf, the next step is actually reading the label. This can be surprisingly tricky because of all the tiny print and specific medical terms.
It really is. Sometimes I look at those tiny bottles and my eyes start to hurt just trying to find the most basic information. But don't worry, everyone. We are going to break down the most important words you will see on almost every medicine label. Let's start with the phrase active ingredient. Alex, what does that actually mean?
The active ingredient is the actual chemical or substance in the medicine that makes you feel better. For example, if you buy a brand name painkiller, the active ingredient might be ibuprofen or paracetamol. The brand name is just the name of the company, but the active ingredient is what does the real work.
That is so important to know. Sometimes you can find a cheaper, generic brand of medicine, and if you check the active ingredients, they're exactly the same as the expensive brand. It's a great way to save money at the pharmacy.
Exactly. Generic is a great word to remember. It just means the standard non-brand version. Now, the next major term you will see on any label is dosage or directions. This tells you exactly how much medicine you should take and how often you should take it.
Right. And the instructions might say something like, take 2 tablets every 4 to 6 hours. Here, tablet is just another word for a pill. Sometimes you will also see capsules, which are those smooth, gel-like pills that are easy to swallow. Alex, what happens if the label says, do not exceed?
Exceed is a very important verb here. To exceed means to go over a limit or to take more than you are supposed to. So if the label says, do not exceed 6 tablets in 24 hours, it means you must absolutely not take 7 or 8 pills in one day. It can be very dangerous for your health.
Yes, please be very careful with that. Another common warning on the dosage section is about food. It might say, take with food or take on an empty stomach. Why does that matter?
Well, some medicines can make your stomach feel upset if you don't have food in it. So take with food means you should eat a meal or a snack right before or while you take the medicine. On the other hand, take on an empty stomach means you should wait to eat or take it a few hours after eating so the medicine can work properly.
That makes sense. Now, let's talk about the warnings section. This is usually in bold letters or in a separate box. One word you will almost always see there is side effects. What are those?
Side effects are extra, unwanted reactions your body might have to the medicine, even if the medicine is working correctly. For example, a medicine might cure your headache, but a side effect could be that it makes you feel very sleepy or gives you a dry mouth.
Exactly. And on the label, you might see a warning like, may cause drowsiness. Drowsiness is just a formal word for feeling very sleepy. If a medicine causes drowsiness, you should not drive a car or operate heavy machinery. It's a very common warning on allergy medicines or strong painkillers.
Yes, drowsiness is a classic pharmacy word. Another warning you might see is keep out of reach of children. This means you must store the medicine in a high cupboard or a locked cabinet where young kids cannot touch it or accidentally eat it.
Safety first, always. Now, what about the dates on the box? I often see EXP followed by a date. What does EXP stand for, Alex?
That stands for expiration date. Sometimes people also call it the expiry date. This is a date when the medicine is no longer guaranteed to be safe or effective. If the expiration date was last year, you should not take the medicine. You should throw it away safely.
Yes, expired medicine might not work at all, or worse, it could make you sick. It is always a good idea to clean out your medicine cabinet once a year and check all those expiration dates.
That is a very good habit, Hana. Now, what if the label says, consult a doctor?
Consult is just a formal way of saying talk to or ask. So consult a doctor means you should speak to a physician before you start taking this medicine, especially if you have other health conditions or if you are already taking different pills. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Definitely. And that brings us to another great phrase, side effects persist. If you see a warning that says, if symptoms or side effects persist, consult your doctor, what does persist mean?
Persist means to continue or to not go away. So if your cough or your headache doesn't stop after a few days of taking the medicine, you shouldn't just keep taking more and more of it. You need to go see a professional because the problem might be more serious.
That is so true, Alex. Knowing when to stop and get professional help is super important. Now, I think we are ready for a little fun. Let's do a role play. I will be the pharmacist, and you can be the customer coming into the pharmacy. How does that sound?
Oh, I love a good role play. Let me get into character. Okay, I am walking into the pharmacy now, and I am not feeling very well. I have a bit of a cough and a sore throat.
Hello there.
Hello.
Welcome to Easy Care Pharmacy. How can I help you today?
Well, I have had this terrible cough for about 2 days now, and my throat is really sore. It hurts when I swallow.
I'm sorry to hear that. Do you have any other symptoms? For example, do you have a fever, a runny nose, or a headache?
No fever. Just the dry cough and the sore throat. Oh, and my chest feels a little tight when I cough.
I see. Is the cough keeping you awake at night?
Yes, actually it is. I could barely sleep last night because every time I laid down, I started coughing again.
All right. I recommend this cough syrup. It is specifically for a dry cough, and it will help soothe your throat so you can sleep. Here is the bottle.
Thank you. Let me look at the label here. It says dosage 10 milliliters every 4 to 6 hours. Do not exceed 40 milliliters in 24 hours. What does exceed mean here?
Exceed means to go over or to take more than that amount. So you must not take more than 40 milliliters of this syrup in one day. That is the maximum safe limit.
Got it. So no more than 4 times a day if I take 10 milliliters each time. And it says here, may cause drowsiness. Does that mean it will make me feel sleepy?
Yes, exactly. Drowsy means sleepy or tired. Because of that, you should not drive a car or operate heavy machinery after you take it. It is best to take it right before you go to bed.
That makes perfect sense. I will definitely take it tonight before bed. How much do I owe you?
That will be $8.50, please. And remember, if your symptoms persist for more than 5 days, please go see a doctor.
Perfect. Here's $10. Thank you so much for your help, Pharmacist Hana.
You are very welcome. Take care and feel better soon. And scene. That was great, Alex. You are a natural actor.
Haha, thanks, Hana. That was actually really helpful to practice. It shows how all these words we talked about today come together in a real-life conversation.
It really does. Let's quickly review the top tips and words from today's episode so our listeners can remember them easily. First, when describing pain, you can use ache for continuous, dull pain like a headache, stomach ache, or earache. Or you can use sore for muscles or a throat that hurts when you touch or use them.
Second, always check the dosage on the medicine label. That tells you exactly how much medicine to take and how often. And look out for warnings like may cause drowsiness, so you know if the medicine will make you sleepy.
And finally, remember the word persist. If your symptoms or side effects persist, meaning they do not go away, make sure to consult a doctor. Do not just keep taking the medicine.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of the Easy English podcast. We hope you feel much more confident the next time you need to visit a pharmacy or read a medicine label. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Keep practicing, stay healthy, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.